On November 28th, 2025, EndField started its beta test too. I can't really speak for EN community since I've been mostly stay away from EndField content and streams. And yes, I'm yet another unfortunate player who didn't get access to the beta test too and is extremely bitter about it. But even setting that aside, I generally think Hypergraph messed up and create unnecessary problem for themselves, at least in the CN community, and there are already some damage. All of this stemmed from HG handlings of Beta 2 assets in the CN community, as well as their overall promotional push for EndField. Today, we'll talk about what's happening in the CN Arknights community, why this situation is a much more serious warning sign than the usual so-called AK drama we've seen recently. Also want to make a disclaimer. You can absolutely treat this video as a salty player ranting and complaining after not getting access. I literally told my friends I will make a trash talk videos about EndField if I didn't get into the beta. So here we are. If you think I'm speaking nonsense, you're probably right. I'm not here to argue whether or not I'm correct. I'm simply sharing what I'm witnessing in the CN community and letting people decide for themselves whether or not this is concerning or not. Maybe it'll be cathartic for players who also fail to get into the beta test too, especially with some of the CN comments I will show later. I know making this video will definitely be cathartic for me, since my original plans for EndFields have completely changed. I'll put my last beta gameplay, as well as some AK footage in the background so we're not staring at a black screen. Anyway, enough rambling. Let's begin. On October 31st, the long-awaited day finally arrived. After a full year of promotion at every kinds of game festivals and conventions, the EndField community's anticipation have long surpassed its boiling point. Hypergraph announced that the beta test 2 will begin in late November, along with several web events where players could potentially win access. One of those web events, a team-based pixel-clicking minigame, seems to have the internal bug that prevents most players from participating properly. The rule stated that each team could select up to 3 coordinates on the canvas for a chance to win access. In practice, it was rumored that the bot account could click an unlimited number of tiles if they reached the site before others. My experience? My friends and I were fully prepared at midnight CN time, but only one of us managed to click 2 pixels. The rest of us couldn't click anything. Every pixel we clicked returned the same message. This tile had been claimed by another team. I spent over 2 hours clicking pixels after pixels only to get the same response. Eventually, we admitted defeat and pinned our hope on the questionnaire, which was rumored to be the majority of assets would be distributed. This wasn't just some baseless rumor. Friends with minor insider connection to HG repeatedly said that the company planned to distribute a large amount of assets for this test. Even famous trusted CN AK creator ZC, who specialized in making low-end guide and have been invited to early EndField media outreach hosted by the Hypergraph, also suggests the same. Everything pointed to the ideas that general waves of assets were coming. Then, November 24th arrived. People began to receiving access, but far more people received nothing. A rumor then began circulating that the invites were only being sent in waves. This kept players refreshing the websites day after day, up until the beta actually started. At that point, players collectively realized there were no more waves, nothing else was coming. Everyone was just strung along by the false hope. What made this worse was the perception that a significant portion of the limited assets were going to players who barely play AK or not even an AK player. Because Skyline, the official form, showed each commenter's AK profile. People could see when a user claiming to have access barely played the game. Combined with the countless self-reported experience across comment section, a conspiracy theory began spreading. To be clear, there's no concrete evidence that non-AK players were favored over AK veterans in asset selection. But because the questionnaire requires a UID, aka UID input, and the countless antidotes keep piling up, the suspicions grow widely. Several self-organized surveys attempt to prove or disprove the theory, but without insights into HG's selection criteria, nothing definitive could be concluded. With emotion running high, it becomes near impossible to reason with people who believe in this theory. There are a few reasons why CN community seems more fixated on this test than global player. The CN terms for this beta test 2 is actually 全面测试. In Chinese, this implies comprehensive, full-scale, or complete testing, naturally giving player the impression the assets will be large-scale. We'll come back to this later. The other thing is that unlike global tests, the CN tests allow wheeling, and even include rebate bonuses. This is common in CN gacha tests to test payment system, but in a situation where assets are extremely limited, it makes everything look much worse. People who can't get in watch others gain financial advantages. And the third funny thing is that only the IGN interview mentioned that the assets will be limited. But that IGN interview was also aimed at global audiences. CN players never receive a similar warning or information from the official channel. These factors combined is the reason why CN community are extremely upset with the situation on beta test 2. And this is only just a beginning. Some member of the community discovered that Goofish, a Chinese reselling website, had tons of EndField beta assets listing. This outraged the community even further. To HG's credit, they reportedly sent cease and desist notice to accounts selling assets. But with the invites already scarce, the damage was done. Many felt that even scalpers have better chance than long-time AK players, fearing frustrations and generating memes, including jokes that EndField was secretly collaborating with Goofish. The official EndField Bilibili account didn't help either. They continued posting reminders about beta test 2 starting soon and welcome players to participate, which felt pointless at this point since people without access couldn't actually participate. They didn't even provide links directing users to streamers. The post only made Arknight's community even more confused and frustrated. Even worse, one of the promotional comics originally used the term 全面测试, just as we mentioned, but HG quietly changed the wording in the Bilibili version to third test. Meanwhile, the Taiwan EndField Twitter account kept the original wording. This only confirmed to CM players that HG knew the terminology was a mistake. Players quickly turned those comics into memes expressing their disappointment. HG also spent a large marketing budget hiring influencers to promote EndField's third test, but many of those new viewers couldn't play either. Several questionable platform choice and some poorly received creators only added fuel to the fire. There was even a bizarre mini-drama where one creator with access called EndField characters colonizers on Talos, sparking even more arguments among the communities. Rumors has it that HG quietly cancelled or halted streams from certain contract influencers after the backlash. Even friends of mine who don't play Arknight said their entire Bilibili homepage was suddenly filled with EndField content. And they can see it in other social media platforms as well. Now, before we continue further, I want to reference a response from another gacha games operation team that felt particularly relevant here. Questions. What was your opinion on the matter where those players with no access to the beta test are giving a 1-star negative review on TapTap? Answer. We understand that the players who left 1-star ratings are, at heart, people who genuinely love Arknights. Not being selected for the test must have been very upsetting, and we completely understand those feelings. Using a 1-star rating as an outlet for the frustration is understandable from an emotional standpoint. However, we still hope everyone can provide objective feedback. This not only helps other players form accurate impressions, but also help us gather genuine opinions and thoughts from the community. Thank you very much for your understanding. We'll take the feedback collected from this limited test seriously and continue improving the game so that everyone's expectation can be fully met when the official launch arrives. Finally, we offer our sincere apologies. ArcNet Operation Team, 2018, July 20th. Just as this reasonable operation team have suggested in their reply, similar things is happening to EndField, as its tap and Bilibili rating have plummeted over the past few days, and not because of any glaring gameplay issues. This entire uproar is almost entirely from this access problem alone. Ironically, the very same AK operation team quoted above ran their own third test years ago, which also featured willing rebate, but with zero access restrictions. Anyone could join. That test revealed several major flaws in AK's design, and HG spent the following months making massive adjustments before launch. You can even find Lowlight and Rua String talking about all the changes they implemented to address player feedback this day. This was one of AK's earliest major comeback story. Comparing that to now, it feels like the EndField operation team have completely dropped the ball, performing worse than an inexperienced indie team from 2018, and I have no idea what EndField's PR team is doing. Maintaining silence and giving frustrated players the cold shoulder is the worst possible approach. More and more AK players are losing trust that HG have spent years building. Alright, I'll share some of the comments and memes here. Take them with a huge grain of salt. They're just internet posts. I'll skip the overly extreme ones, but I'll try to translate them in a way to preserve the emotions. I share some of the sentiment, but I don't endorse every suggestions or claims. The point is just to show how much damage this situation have caused among AK fans and the longtime supporters. This section will surely be cathartic for me as well. So let's start with talk about more of the general situations. So why do we have such a big drama this time? It can't seriously be that they did a preview stream before the closed beta just to lure in OG players, made everyone fight over a ridiculous tiny number of slots via broken web minigame, then had people fill out questionnaire again for the so-called meme badge, only to end up with staggered release drop and the patronizing not selected as the punchline, can it? And then there's also another post that summarized the situation even more. I don't know whether or not they will ban this account for speaking the truth, but I'll keep it brief. The forums and the meme might not have wake up yet. I'm going to make a metaphor here. There were so many people in the village, and you have been banging, drumming, and shouting about giving out eggs to the whole village. And then the entire village showed up, and you said there were only 2 eggs and no more. It was just a problem for the promotional team and the operation team, but then as the bad narrative about the game start to rise, those with access start to complain about those OG players with no access have abandoned the game and now fight against those who try to create a bad narrative. While there's no official response even now, I can understand the forum admin deleting some of the forum posts that were trying to cause a fuss, but why there were so many regular discussions that are also removed as well? Is it that the OG player who didn't help out trying to pull in new players during the promo event? Did we really have to use those 2 letters for the third test? There were so many characters in the Chinese languages and you couldn't thought about anything better? Or are you just stringing OG player along with cheap baits and bend through their enthusiasm? Now, just as the post suggested, many posts actually in these situations is all about like let others disguise, let those bad narrative fester because they really don't know. Like for example this one. Sorry, Hypergraph, I really want to say something to defend you against those criticizing EndField, but I'm just someone who have no access. And then there's so many multiple reply under it too, say like the only thing I can say now is I don't know. I haven't played EndField. They've got screenshots, so they might be right. And then there's tons of those that talks about it. First of all, I can't defend anything. The moment I try to, they're gonna ask whether or not I even have assets, then call me a spectator player. And there's nothing I can do. Second, do all those back and forth bickering in the community actually achieve anything? No matter how you think about it, Hypergraph is obviously going to place far more weight on the feedback from the player who actually participate in the test, the ones that they hand out more access to, in order to expand the player base. Why would Hypergraph care about the community opinion from someone like me who isn't even a player right now? And then someone also replied, Hypergraph have purposely kept all the players who will defend them out, then what else is going to happen? This is a problem they created completely on their own. And then and obviously more community sentiment about it. They've actually played it, so they have the right to judge it. I don't even qualify to play, so what grounds do I have to push back on? And then obviously more and more those comments. It's everywhere. Saw the recent community uproar. My thoughts: I'm just spectator gamer and don't really have the rights to comments. Or those who will just remain and pretend like they're not going to know anything, but obviously they don't know because they haven't played. I don't know, I've never played EndField. What they said must be true. Now, obviously, there were some comments and concerns about like, hey, maybe it was a limited on SS number, but that's also quickly disproven as suggested by this post. I took a look at some other game third test and look at NetEase where wins met third test last year. They laid out in the number of assets in their QA. Keep in mind, this is just a game that have a pre-registered player count target of 10 million, and EndField have a target count of 35 million, but only provide about 50k to 80k assets. This is some real comprehensive test. How many test assets will be distributed for this test? The current large-scale test will have about 100,000 test assets to be distributed, and this is the questionnaire from NetEase. Someone else have rumored that the law from 2023 have limited assets count, have limited the assets count to 20k. That obviously is false. The only remaining possible reason for such a low assets count is just that Hypergraph did it on purpose. Now, because of all those situations, there's also a lot of all those other sentiment, because it just looks like more outside player got more assets. It's not true. Well, I have to keep repeating itself, but it does cause sentiment like this. I feel like that the OG AK player have become a reunion movement. Prior to becoming the infected, we also love our Terra. Until this drama, all the OG AK players have become infected, become someone who got left behind. It gives us the feeling that the contribution we made to our own Terra was nothing more than wishful thinking. Now what's worse is that during the middle of it, HE was also doing like promo posts on some of the other post accounts, such as this one, which is they're just posting an image of Endming on one of their other promotional account. But unfortunately, just due to the similarity of it, people just got more confused by it, and it feels like rather than diffuse the situation, they'll sort of put this out as a taunting suggestion, which is why you can even see more memes that being generated about it. I mean, the main thing, there's more of it, but the main thing is just implying that it's like HE is giving them the middle finger. It's not, but it's just the bad timing of it. And there are even more fractures between AK communities and EF communities, as some of the OG players suggest that EndField should just drop the prefix as well. And then there's many posts about it to talk about that. And then it's really just that. Like, for example, this one. The most urgent thing right now is change the complex 7-letter title to a simplified 3-letter. It would be better to attract the new players. Now, Arknights is a 4-letter in Chinese, so which is why they suggested this way. And obviously, There's more of it. Why does admin playing games concern your doctor at all? Um, and then let's wrap this up about with a long post that someone else posted. That my roommate marks me every day for playing Arknight. Then he ends up getting EndField test access. Tell me what I'm supposed to feel. I brought all the art book. I've never spent money this reckless on anything before. And him, um, he never even played Arknight. And every time I tried to talk to him about it, he thought the whole thing was just laughable. Don't try to reason with me here. I'm just asking you this. Am I not allowed to have emotions? Is it wrong for me to express them? I've been defending AK's reputation in front of him this whole time, and now I'm the clown. And you think that's the end of it? No, there are two of them. Two roommates who mocked me about it, and then they both got access. What's even more absurd is that the other three roommates who didn't get access simply because they couldn't be bothered to fill out the questionnaire. I swallowed my pride and begged them to give them their access, and they told me they would charge it at the market rate. I honestly want to delete every single EndField related promo post I've ever made to all the friend group. I felt awful. Is it really my fault? I'm so angry that I'm laughing. They're already planning to sell their assets anyway. After all, to them, EndField is just another new game. Haha, funny, right? But the most laughable part of it all is me. Obviously, there's more posts about it. There's actually an even longer post that goes through the entire thing, talks about why, if like people feeling like they're being wronged by Hypergriff. But we'll stop at here. In my opinion, the root of the problem is simple. The small amount of assets combined with the extraordinary amount of promotional material, creating a sense of false advertising and the wrong expectation, especially among AK's most dedicated fanbase. The cold shoulder approach that AK is taking is also not helping. I also want to point out that there are definitely ill-intended actors that are putting out slander posts to provide a negative impression on the EndField game, and love to see the community stay inflamed. But HG's move and a short amount of assets provide the fuel and the air for those to set the community ablaze, like some of the comments suggested. Many of the AK players, including me, have decided to stay away from any EndField gameplay content prior to trying the game ourselves, and the constant bombardment of the promotional material for all kinds of media platforms only feel annoyances to keep pushing us away. That being said, there's still time for Hypergraph to make a correction, and there are still many things they could do to get back on the right track. And Hypergraph is known to not hide away from their mistake. The first art book is underwhelming and lacks any real content. We'll remake it and give it out to everyone who purchased the book for free. We'll also make sure any of the upcoming art book is packed full of content. The concert premium seating area had a bad viewing angle and provides a bad experience. We'll compensate those that purchase premium ticket with partial refund and additional goods, and also taking viewing angle into consideration when selecting grounds for future concerts. Those are all real examples that HG have done in the past few years which have helped build up community trust. There is absolutely no reason they couldn't fix this mistake, and I still firmly believe they can. I just hope whatever they decide to do, they can do it soon, before the CN EndField community is burned down to nothing but ash. Lost here. You can easily tell that I recorded previous paragraph a while back, because HG clearly did nothing during this time. But perhaps that they're confident enough that the game will launch okay, or they believe the community in Rage will eventually come down and still come back and play EndField. I mean, to be fair, it is already a lot more calmer now. Or maybe they believe the global community will surpass the CN community and be the main player force of EndField. Regardless of which, I hope they are right.